The Leaning Tower of Pisa, famous for its iconic tilt and millions of tourists awkwardly pretending to hold it up for the perfect photo. But did you know that this peculiar tower isn't just a gravity-defying marvel? It was also the site of one of the boldest science experiments in history. That's right, this tower isn't just leaning, it's legendary. Let's rewind to the late 1500s, when a brilliant but rebellious scientist named Galileo Galilei was shaking things up, literally. At the time, most people believed a very old idea from the Greek philosopher Aristotle: heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones. Sounds logical, right? But Galileo had a theory that would turn this ancient wisdom on its head. According to Aristotle, if you dropped a cannonball in, say, a watermelon, the cannonball would definitely hit the ground first. Why? Because it's heavier, Aristotle would say with a shrug. But Galileo wasn't buying it. He thought, what if weight doesn't matter at all? What if gravity treats all objects equally? And then, inspiration struck. Galileo had the perfect way to prove Aristotle wrong. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, a 55-meter-tall science lab just waiting to be used. And oh boy, Galileo wasn't about to let that opportunity slip by. The experiment. Picture this: Galileo, in his flowing robes, huffing and puffing as he drags two cannonballs all the way to the top of this leaning monstrosity. We're talking serious cardio, folks. He didn't have elevators or assistants willing to do the heavy lifting. As legend has it, a crowd gathered at the base of the tower to watch. On one side, Galileo, the daring scientist. On the other, skeptics clinging to Aristotle's teachings. The air was thick with tension. What would happen? Would Galileo prove centuries of wisdom wrong? Or would he embarrass himself in front of half of Pisa? And then, he let them go. Boom! Both cannonballs hit the ground at the exact same time. Galileo's theory was right. Gravity doesn't play favorites. Heavy or light, all objects fall at the same rate. Well, at least in the absence of pesky things like air resistance. The impact. This experiment wasn't just a gotcha moment for Galileo. It was a game-changer for science. His findings laid the foundation for modern physics and even inspired the work of a little-known guy named Sir Isaac Newton. Ever heard of him? Newton would later build on Galileo's discoveries to develop his law of universal gravitation, changing how we understand the universe forever. But it all started here, with Galileo, two cannonballs, and one very lean tower. By the way, the Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't even supposed to lean in the first place. It started tilting during construction in the 12th century because the ground underneath was too soft. And yet, instead of fixing it, they just kept building. Fast forward 800 years, and it's still standing strong, and still leaning. Engineers have worked hard to stabilize it over the years, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Good thing too, because where else could Galileo have pulled off his legendary experiment? So, next time you visit the Leaning Tower of Pisa, take a moment to remember Galileo. Imagine him up there, challenging the status quo, armed with nothing but two cannonballs and a stubborn belief in the power of observation. Who knew science could be this much fun? And hey, while you're at it, snap that photo pretending to hold the tower up. Galileo would totally approve.